area every single day, every weekend, 24/7. It does not matter.
Tell them what breaking a black barrier mean, man. What they
Come on,
look
man.
like?
What is black, man?
What is black?
Copper Color Productions, man.
Huh?
The Copper Color King, King Cash, Morals and Money, man. Let's get it.
Black King, stand up. But understand what black is. It's the essence, it's the culture. We've been on this earth, you heard? The Bronx was called Fort Apache. Huh? The Bronx was called Fort Apache, man. Oh, last breed, bro. We bringing it back, last breed.
Really forever flying in this bitch, man. For the ancestors, baby. For all the ancestors out there, baby.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we back in this bad boy with some more good content, man. It's the Copper Color King, man. I thank y'all for tuning in. Everybody who's tuning in right now, who've been waiting since 9 o'clock p.m., I apologize, man. I apologize for the lateness. I was on the road. Surprisingly, it's traffic. It's traffic on a Friday night. Whoever going home from work right now, I feel bad for you. I feel bad for you. Because the highways is all jammed up right now. Yeah, we live from New York City, by the way. We live from New York City. Yeah, man, it's the Copper Color King, man. We back, tapped in on the MOI's platform, man. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Copper Color King. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Morals and Money. Follow me on all platforms. Copper Color King, man. Spelled the same. Everything you see in the banner, everything spelled the same. Just go to your search bar, type that in, Copper Color King. Make sure you tap in, man, because we got a good one today. I got a good one for y'all today. So I ain't gonna continue to ramble though, right? Let me just put something out there real quick. Let me put something out there for y'all real quick. Right, I did some research on the Carib Indians from the West Indian Islands, man. Right? This research was so dope, right? It was so dope because Hispanic folks don't even know. Hispanic folks don't even know. They got a little bit black blood too. You be asking abuela, grandpa, yo, we black? They be like, no, whole time be dark as ever. Be dark as charcoal. Right? This research that I did pretty much supports the idea that my fellow Hispanics over there across the water, y'all black too. Not so much because of the skin complexion, but more so because of the hardships and trials and tribulations that the people faced over time. You know, our people went through a lot, man. The black and brown populations went through a lot. History has been rewritten so many times. At this point, it's really, really hard to keep track. I'm gonna be honest, it's really, really hard to keep track, but we have to do our best. Right? We have to do our best, and that's why I did this research. So what I'm gonna present to y'all today, right? It's a 30-minute video. We're gonna start off with a 30-minute video. This video comes from something that I did 2 weeks ago regarding the history, right? The mythology of the Choctaw peoples, their mythology, giants, cannibals, the Carib Indians, their migration patterns. How even in Louisiana, a lot of the inhabitants of that land, the Choctaw peoples, referred to some of the tribes there as Caribs. Not because they were Caribs from South America or from the West Indies, but because they were cannibals. So we learned that the term Carib is just another word for cannibal. Right? But not all Caribs are cannibals. It's so crazy. This is how they play with the words, the wordplay. And a lot of that stuff has our identities hidden within. Right? A lot of Hispanic people from the West Indies, they got Carib blood. Carib, Taino, European, some would say African, some would say, but more or less though, right? I'm gonna get the clip rolling. I want to give y'all this video just so that we have an understanding of where I'm going for, what I'm going for with this video right here. So after this 30-minute video, we're gonna talk about the history of the Caribs, the Black Caribs specifically, or the Caribs in general, and how they were relocated from St. Vincent over there to Guatemala, Honduras, you know, Mesoamerica, Central America. They were relocated. They were forcibly relocated. They were coined Black Caribs. They were coined Africans, right? They called them Africans in the late 1700s. Removed these people from their true identity and then gave them a whole new identity. We would know these people today to be Garifuanas, the Garifuna people. But I ain't gonna continue to chat, right? Let's get into this video, right? So what I got for y'all? Let's get it busting. Let's get it popping. Let's get some more people in this live stream, man. Let's run it up. Let's run this one up, man. If you know, if your family got some of that Carib blood, man, this one is for you. This one is specifically for you, man. Let's check it out. Let's do it. Right. Again, the Tuscarora Indians now living in Canada, but formerly from North Carolina. Shout out Tuscarora. A lot of my folks come from that tribe. From the North Carolina state and the tradition. All right, before we even go deeper into this, right? What the author is about to do in this book, this comes from the history of the Choctaw, Chickasaw, and the Natchez people. He is about to break down the different groups of peoples living around these Aborigines around this time. And he's about to talk about how they were encountering giants, Skraelings, Alegwis, cannibals, Eskimos, right? Skraelings are Eskimos, right? Different peoples that had different names. that we all know today as Native Americans, right? This furthermore proves that there's a huge, significant difference in what a Native American is and what an Indian is, or what an Aborigine is. It's a big, big, big difference. And this is why we always have to remain diligent when we taking in this information, because the way they play with these words or the different terms or names that they give to groups of people, it will confuse you. But let's continue. That they came from the west and settled on the North Carolina seaboard about the year AD 1300. Another group of Indians or Aborigines migrated from west, from where? Mexico. They came down there from Mexico. So for those who don't know, it wasn't only the Aztecs, Toltecs, and Mayans, and Incans, and Olmecs and them down there. It was many different tribes, many different groups. See, we are now learning that these terms that we see that they use for these different bands of people, they are not the actual names for these different groups of people. Those are tribal names, yes, but there was many different groups of people living under these same banners. Just like how now we black, a lot of us, our ancestry, your ancestry may come from Europe, but you live in America, you're American. Their ancestry was just like that too. You know, they live under the Aztec rule, they are Aztec, but they also go by different names, like the Choctaw. The tribe started with two brothers named Choctaw and Chickasaw, but they're not actually called Choctaw. It's a different group of people. The tribe now is Choctaw, but back then they weren't Choctaw. It's a difference. Let's continue though. Their traditions also state that they came in contact with a people of short stature, ignorant of maize, and eaters of raw flesh. They had cannibals all over the Americas, man. Cannibals all over the Americas, all over. People eating raw flesh, eating people alive, sacrificing babies. You know, one thing I'm gonna explain to y'all is with cannibalism comes sun and moon worship, comes paganism, because a lot of these people were being eaten during periods of sacrifice. See, when you in the right mind, you over here dealing with fruits and animals and ish. These pagans and flesh eaters was out here eating babies, eating their enemies, eating their prisoners of war, eating the dead, stuff like that, bugging out. All right, let's continue though. So what it says. All this is plain proof to my mind that the Eskimo once inhabited the Atlantic seaboard as far as North Carolina, and that they were pushed northward by the influx of incoming Indian tribes that coming from where? From Mexico. And that the Indian had not been settled but for comparatively a short period in the seaboard at the time of Columbus' discovery. The mound builders seem to have never occupied the seaboard stretching from North Carolina upward. Yeah, that's right, because the mound builders occupied what would be close to the Mississippi River. See, North Carolina is close, but the seaboard, that's more east. You know, that's going more towards coming towards New York City, whatever the case may be. So it's a little different. Here they describing the Eskimo or these Skrelingers or whatever the case may be to be groups of people who existed along the seaboard of North Carolina upward, going through other states such as New York, Maine, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Delaware, places like that, Connecticut. And we know there's other tribes who found their way over there too. The Delawares, or Lenni Lenape, as they style themselves in their native tongue, have a tradition that comes from the West, them as well. When they came to the Great River, perhaps somewhere in the latitude of St. Louis, they found a people of tall stature and living in towns. These people were also flesh eaters, raw eaters of flesh, and considered to be giants. Now, like I said, so we're going to talk about these Nahulo, right? The Nahulo, these race of giants. So I just want to show y'all who they said these Nahulo people are, right? So remember this picture right here. Giants in South America. Bearded people with long, straight hair. Who knows what kind of complexion they could have been. Could have been dark skin, could have been light skin, could have been white. We wouldn't even know. But this is from a depiction from a 1540s map of giants in Patagonia. That's like in the deep end of South America. The deep, 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 deep end. So let's remember something, right? These Caribs, they come from South America, right? We're going to stray away from the Choctaw real quick. We're going to go into this giants theory. The Choctaws said that they encountered giants, the Nahulo, a race of giants. I'm gonna need y'all to pay attention right here for this part. Pay attention for this part, right? Get this comment section loaded for this part, because what they're about to explain is about to blow your mind. I know it caught me off guard, but this is why I had to do the research. Let's continue. Giants, right? They went to war with a race of giants over there close to Tennessee, whatever the case may be. Now, carrots come from South Carolina. Let me show you something, right? So look. Let me show you something. Yeah, like I said, I went blind for a minute. Oh, yeah, right. So this is when they talking about these Eskimo, these Skrelinger. Now, to whom does this description apply but to the Eskimo? Thirdly, relics have been discovered, implements of various kinds along the seaboard exactly similar to those used by the Eskimo of present day. All this is plain proof to my mind that the Eskimo once inhabited the Atlantic seaboard as far south as North Carolina, and that they were pushed northward by the influx of Indian tribes, right? The Delawares of Lenni Lenape, as they style themselves in their native tongue, have a tradition that they came from west. When they came to the Great River of St. Louis, perhaps somewhere in the latitude of St. Louis, they found a people of tall stature living in towns. That's where he picked off of that. So check this part out. So now they start talking about the Allegui. These are the people of tall stature, right? The Allegui. Who are these Allegui? The Allegui are without a doubt the same stock of the people spoken in the Choctaw traditions as the Nahulo. So we know that Nahulo and the Allegui are of the same stock, the same kinds of people, right? Same kinds of people. These are the people that the Delawares or the Lenni Lenape encountered when they got to the Great River, close to St. Louis. They encountered them. And now they're saying that these people, these Allegui, are of the same people of the Nahulo. They said that the Nahulo is a race of white giants, right? They had a white complexion, a race of giants with a white complexion. So they're saying the Allegui are the same people. Let's check this out, right? Who are the Allegui? The Allegui, right? The Allegui is a cryptid that lives in the Allegheny mountain range that cuts through the United States and Canada. It is known as a kind of giant that eats human flesh. It is highly intelligent and appears to use tools and primitive cloth, right? That sounds like a caveman. When I think about it, it makes me think of a caveman, like the wild men of Europe, right? The wild men. Who are the wild men? Who are the wild men? These are what they depict the wild men to be, right? Giants who played with sticks and stones and ate people or whatever the case may be. I got a drop coming out on that too real soon. The Allegui, they appear to use tools and primitive cloth. They look just like that, right? What do these people look like they doing? Using tools and primitive cloth with all this hair on their body, right? It has also appeared to hunt for self-entertainment rather than for survival. Sounds like something that could be Japhetic, warlike. Invaders, they hunt for entertainment. So they eat human flesh. That means they're hunting people. Like some primates and like chimpanzees, they capture their prey and then release them in order to catch them again. Some people report it being a large lizard man. They live in caves near the tops of mountains and they are predatory. They prefer to hunt for the meal. The Allegui were related and earlier discovered Adena tribe. They were said to be some of the largest Native Americans of North America. These locals were separated from others by their prominent chins and cranial cavities. They were also some of the strongest and best dieted natives alive. Right, and then here they got a depiction of what their skull might have looked like. But see, this is when I start thinking about that evolution theory, right? That from ape to man theory. Then it makes me think about the story of the wild men, these invaders, right? These wild invaders that just used to invade and hunt for fun. That's what they did. These wild men. This is how they look. These are depictions of wild men. Europe's wild men, right? And I'm making this connection because of what they saying. They lived in caves like Neanderthals, basically like Neanderthals, right? But they're also saying that they're of a branch of Native American. So these flesh eaters were actually considered to be people, because Native Americans are people, right? That's just proof that they're using denonyms and exonyms, using terms that are not native to the land to classify people. Because you talk to a Native American today, ask them if they eat flesh, they'll tell you no, probably in public. I won't know if they do behind closed doors, but they definitely gonna disagree. Now that was a big drop, because they saying that these people are of a Native American stock. So if these Alleguis are giants and of a white skin complexion or a lighter skin complexion, whatever the case may be, and are cannibals and live in the caves and sticks and stones, whatever the case may be, then this is what your Native American is. Here, there you go. You have it. There you have it. That's a Native American. That can't be no Aboriginal. That can't be me. That can't be you. That doesn't even look like us. The skull shape, the cranial shape, nothing about it imitates the copper-colored man. But let's continue, because they about to really get crazy with it, right? Who are the Caribs? What is a Carib? A Carib is a name given to a group of people. That's not a Aboriginal clan of people. And I'm gonna prove this to y'all. Let's continue. Watch this. Agree with that. But here, look, you Native American. There go your Allegui. That's a Native American right there. Eaters of raw flesh. Let's go back into the PowerPoint, right? So now look, we know what the Allegui are now, right? And now we know that the Nahulo is a corruption of the Choctaw word Nahulo, and is now applied to the entire white race. Oh, big drop, because this could easily connect us to the wild man and caveman theories. These cavemen, these Nahulos, these giants, eaters of raw flesh that come out the caves and bite trees and shit, right? Let's read this part. What happened with the Alleguis and the Lenape, right? So the Allegui had to get the Lenape had to ask the Allegui for permission to cross the river. They granted it. The Allegui, however, seeing the Indians constantly coming from the west in such large numbers and fearing they would ultimately dispossess them of their country, not their country, their land, their part of land, commenced war upon them. After years of fighting, the Allegui were defeated and driven out of their country, retreating southward, and the Delawares and other tribes took possessions of the country. Now, these Allegui are without a doubt the same stock, like we just said. And now we know Nahulo is a corruption of the Choctaw word Nahulo. But anciently, it referred to a giant race with whom they came in contact when they first crossed the Mississippi River. These giants say their tradition, as related to the missionaries, occupied the northern part of the now states of Mississippi and Alabama and the western part of Tennessee. The true signification of the word Nahulo is a superhuman or a supernatural being. And the true words for the white man are Hatak Toby. Remember this, Hatak Toby. That's the words for the white man. And I want y'all to remember this term Hatak and what they about to connect this to. They're about to connect it to these Nahulos, these flesh eaters. But they also about to connect it to something else. Now let's continue. Right, so it says that Nahulo were of white complexion, according to the Choctaw tradition, and were still an existing people at the time of the advent of the Choctaws to Mississippi. That they were a hunting people and also cannibals who killed and ate the Indians whenever they could capture them. Consequently, the Nahulo were held in great dread by the Indians and were killed by them whenever an opportunity was presented. By what means they finally became extinct, tradition is silent. Chemical analysis of the bones of this giant race in Tennessee and elsewhere says Mr. H.S. Halbert, and letter of January 3rd, 1878 indicate the ravages of one of the most terrible diseases to which flesh is hair. Bones exhumed from these ancient cemeteries indicate with painful certainty that syphilis was at least one cause of the extinction of these ancient people.
Yep, hot talk.
This could
Man,
be
Toby,
due
white.
to
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Flesh eaters.
And even crazier too, right? They called these peoples Caribs. They called them Caribs. So if the Hatak Toby is the white man, who are the Nahulo, who are the Alegui, and they're calling them Caribs, then who are the Carib Indians? It's just a name given to a group of people. An exonym is an exonym given to a group of people. Thank you, Chosen, for Aries. I was waiting for somebody to drop some fire. I was waiting for that. But it's just a name given to a group of people. Now, we all know the Caribs weren't white. They weren't any white Caribs. The Carib peoples are brown, darker skin, black people. Same thing, same as you and I. Same as us. So who are the Caribs? Are they calling them Caribs because they're Carib Indian? Also because they practiced in cannibalism, right? And they had a specific form of cannibalism. Not the same as these people. These Caribs over there in the West Indies did it for survival. They did it for survival. And by these Caribs, who am I talking about? I'm talking about these people. These people. These Caribs. These Caribs. These people. These the Caribs. The copper-colored kings and queens of the West Indies. The woolly-haired copper-colored kings and queens of the West Indies. These people. Not the Hatak Toby. Not the Hatak Toby. Not them. But why are they calling these people Caribs, right? Are they Caribs? What stock are they? What is their aboriginal stock? Most people say that they're mixed with Africans, right? To which I don't believe that not one bit. Not one bit. Because of the documentation and proof that I got. You know what I mean? And there was a lot of slave trading going on between the United States and the West Indies too. So many different complexions of people that could have lived over there or inhabited those lands, right? Like I said, they call these people Gadifuanas now. What do the Gadifuana people look like? Black. They black, right? They black. Let's continue.
Just imagine all the other nasty shit they was doing. You eating flesh. I'm pretty sure many other diseases existed among these people, but syphilis though, syphilis go back that deep, all the way to a land of giants.
Yeah, who knew syphilis went back that deep though?
That's crazy. That's a big drop. More information. That's why I said this rabbit hole is about to be crazy. So yeah, let's continue. So what does it say? It was long supposed that the syphilis was imported into this continent by the European race. That may have been the case in this historical period, but I have no doubt it prevailed with awful fatality among the ancient people who dominated a large portion of this continent before the advent of the Indian race. Woo! Big drop. Big drop. Big drop. So we know syphilis killed off these giants, right? Syphilis killed off these giants. Now, I got some more smoke for y'all, right? Check this out. Let me just zoom out real quick. All right, we there. Now we going to the book. I'm gonna take y'all into the book, right? The book of the Choctaw, Chickasaw, and
this, y'all watch this.
Let's go back real quick.
Watch this, y'all.
Let's go back, man. Like I said, this rabbit hole.
Watch this,
rabbit
man.
hole, bro.
Your boy does
crazy,
his research.
Right? Now look.
Let's just say that your boy does his research. Check this out.
They talking about the Caribs and the Hulo. I mean, they talking about the Nahulo, these Alegui, these giants, these cannibals, these flesh eaters. Check this out. Be that as it may, I still believe in the Choctaw traditions that the Nahulo, who inhabited North Mississippi and Alabama and West Tennessee, were a hunting people, as they have left no trace whatsoever, whatever, of having been agriculturalists. As the unbroken.
Hold up, let me pause real quick, right? Show y'all something. We have to understand terms, right? We got to understand terms.
You got to understand terms. Check this out, right? So there's two groups of peoples, right? We got Neolithic and Paleolithic, right? Two different eras, right? So what is Paleolithic, right? It's an ancient cultural stage, human development characterized by the use of rudimentary chipstone tools, right? The use of tools, right? The Neolithic is age, basically the use of stone and plenty other things. Let's look into it more, right? So I don't want to miseducate anybody or miseducate myself, right? So it's an archaeological period. Final division of the Stone Age in Europe and Asia and Africa. It's sort of Neolithic revolution, a wide-ranging set of developments that appear to have arisen independently in several parts of the world. The Neolithic package included the introduction of farming, domestication of animals, and a change from hunter-gatherer lifestyle to one of the settlement. Basically, Neolithic is basically an agricultural lifestyle. Hunting wasn't something that was really used by Neolithic peoples, right? They were farming crops, growing plants and stuff like that. So this is just proof that in the Americas, this is like sidetrack, so sidetrack, that in the Americas, you had two groups of peoples, right? You had two groups of peoples. Bruce Lee, what up, my brother? How you doing? Two groups of peoples, right? You had people who were hunting, primarily hunting, and like they said, hunting for fun, which were these Nahulos, these Alegwis, these giants, these white folks, right? These people of white complexion. And then you had the Neolithic peoples, right? Who were the Aborigines, who were living off of the land. Two groups of people. Now, mind you, these groups of peoples date back thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, as they just said, right? I'll show y'all one more time. The Paleolithic era, or Old Stone Age, is a period of prehistory from about 2.6 million years ago to around 10,000 years ago. That's a long time. So that's proof that there was just many different groups of peoples over here living on the American mainland. Solid proof, right? Sidetrack, right? Ancient America, the true old world. Ancient America, the true old world. Like I said, the land that came out the waters first. Primordial waters first. America. Everything was here first. Boars, horses, goddamn lions, tigers. Bro, I got so much coming for y'all, right? We reading the Mound Builders book. More from this book. It's just America is the true old world. I heard it here first, man. And it's not a fact. Yes, Sirski, my brother, we in here. Let's do it. But yeah, just to catch you up, right? I'm just giving a breakdown of the history of the Carib peoples, right? And how they gave the name Carib to these race of giants and flesh eaters here in America. They called them Caribs. Yet we got Caribs over there in the West Indies, right? So who are the Caribs in the West Indies? The black Caribs. Who are they if they're calling these people right here Caribs? And what does the word Carib actually mean? Carib is just another word for cannibal, right? So the Caribbean islands, right? When you break it down, the Caribbean islands, the cannibal islands, where do these terms come from? Who are those people, right? I got the history for these folks. So we're breaking it down. I'm going to finish giving y'all the drop. Let's continue.
Forests of majestic trees of age growth that covered the land everywhere at the advent of the Europeans evidently prove. So that means they didn't grow no crops. They weren't farmers. They didn't eat fruits. None of that crazy stuff, man. They just feasted on meat. Human meat, human flesh, and most likely animal flesh. Paleolithic. Because there's no differences. It's probably what made them, extremely tall and broad the way they were. Still, I admit, with friend Halbert, that possibility, the Alegui of Delaware tradition may be the Nahulo Choctaw tradition. If they were of white complexion, as the word Nahulo is emphatically applied to the white race and no other. If white, may they not be of the Northmen, who it is said established a few colonies upon
now they calling them the Northmen,
1000,
the Northerners.
Then if the North American Indians are not the mound builders, because they aren't, you can't call a North American Indian a mound builder, because North American Indian is an exonym. The descendants of the mound builders mixed up in many of the different tribes that migrated here from Mexico. They mixed up. They assimilated. That's what happens. That's how things carry on. And this was due from the invasion of the many Siberians. This is my assumption, of the many Siberians and these wild men that were invading the mound builders' land. They destroyed that great civilization. May not the Northmen be? Nah, the Northmen ain't the mound builders. So let's check this out. This part right here is what took me out, and it took me down the extremely deep rabbit hole. It says some have believed that the Nahulo were the Carib Indians, as they were said to be of gigantic stature, and also cannibals who once inhabited our Gulf Coast. They were found by Columbus in the West Indies, and they are still found in the Isles of the Caribbean, the Cannibal Sea, and Venezuela. Because what did we just see on that map? Who's in Venezuela? Who's in Venezuela? Let's go back real quick. Who's in Venezuela? Who's in that map? Let's go back to that map.
What up,
Who's
my
in
brother?
Venezuela?
Halito, brother. Halito.
It, right?
Halito.
These Caribs, they still in the Caribbean islands. This is who Columbus encountered. These Caribs. Big drop. Because now look, let's continue. What it say? What you say? Oh, and they are still found in the Isles of the Caribbean and Venezuela. The early French writers of Louisiana called the Caribs by their Indian name, Atacapas. And Atacapas Parish in Louisiana took its name from that tribe. What did I tell y'all? The French translated Atacapas man-eater. Atacapas is a corruption of the Choctaw words Hatakapa, man-eatable, which they, the French, no doubt got from the Choctaws who gave the tribe that name. I am inclined to believe that the Nahulo of the Choctaw tradition were not regular cannibals, but that they sacrificed human victims in their religious ceremonies, which in extreme cases may perhaps have required their officiates to eat a portion also of the victim's flesh. The same also are the Caribs, hence Haracapas, man-eatable, instead of Harakapo, eater. Damn. Like I said, right? So if they're calling these white people, these white complexion people in Louisiana, Caribs, aka Atacapas, aka Haracapas, aka Nahulo, aka Alegui. Y'all see how many different names? How many different names they gave to one race of people? You know, the same thing works for black people. The same thing works for black people: African American, Afro American, black, colored, Negro, Indian, mulatto, quadroon, octroon, Morano. Like so many different names, but y'all see, right? This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm getting at. They calling these white folks Caribs, saying that they the same exact ones from Louisiana and Venezuela, right? So it made me think about something, and I showed it in this PowerPoint when I was doing it, right? It made me think about something. I seen this map a long time ago. This map right here. This is at the very tip of South America, and this depicts basically a link up between man and giants, and these giants are of the same stock, the same description. The way they described them in the book is the way they are on this map. Mind you, this map is from 1540. It's from 1540. So when they talking about Caribs in the West Indies, right? We have to understand. There was many different groups of people wandering these lands. America is the true old world. So we have to figure out, who are these Caribs? Honestly, truly, to the truth, who are the Caribs, right? Who are the Caribs? Now, one thing I'm gonna make extremely clear for everybody, right? This is not to say that I believe in giants being here, being the Carib,
black Caribs or whatever the case may be. I'm not trying to discredit anything that was happening over there in South America. Like, I know it's a lot going on when we're talking about American history or history of the Americas in general. It's a lot going on. So when we're doing research, we have to be extremely specific, right? So I went and got me a little article, right? You know, I gotta read. Reading is important, right? The rise and fall of the black Caribs, right? We're gonna get an understanding of who these people are. Now, their home was in St. Vincent. Right? Show y'all the book, right? That's where their land is. That's where these people say they come from. But when you look at the maps of the old Aboriginal lands, whatever the case may be, it says that you had Caribs in South America, Caribs in the West Indies, and Caribs over there in Louisiana, hence the Atacapas, right? But we got to get into the research of who these black Caribs are, because we know they have a different people. These are the people who mixed in, right? Who mixed in with the Taino folks over there in Puerto Rico, the Taino folks over there in Jamaica, right? These are the people that they tried to claim and say that they were Africans, that these people were Africans. Hell nah, they ain't African. Like I said, these are the woolly haired, copper colored people of the West Indies. True Aboriginals. These are the people that Columbus encountered when he came over here to America. This is who people are that they're talking about in the book. This is who these people are. The true Caribs. And mind you, right, they weren't even cannibals like how they were explaining in the book, right? These people were pirates. They were pirates. And what they pretty much had to do was hunt, right, to survive. They had to hunt. And sometimes that came with eating other people, right? They were also fishermen. But you got to understand, a lot go on as far as the weather, hurricanes, and whatever the case may be over there in the West Indies. So a lot of that land, you know, is not accessible sometimes around certain times of the year. So these people, especially when they're on their expeditions or pirate ships, you know, they crash landing, whatever the case may be. And because they have no food, no supplies, they're being forced to eat other people to survive. And when Europeans got a whiff of this, right? When they got a whiff of this, they like to call them, or they categorize them as cannibals. They categorize these people as cannibals, right? But like I said, we're gonna go into the history of the Black Carib. This one is gonna be real interesting. So let's get into it. Right? And drop a comment if you're rocking with this so far, man. We're going crazy. Let's do it. All right. So the introduction, right? So what it say? The story of the Black Caribs cannot be fully appreciated without the clear grasp of some of the geographic details of the Caribbean area, particularly the location of such places as Bequia, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Martinique, Barbados, and Honduras. The Caribbean Sea together with the Gulf of Mexico form an almost complete rectangle, right? This is proof though, that these people been coming into America, traveling along that rectangle, right? On the southern, northern, and western sides are North, South, and Central America, respectively. The last named, of course, includes, among other countries, British Honduras and Guatemala. On the eastern side, there is a chain of islands known as the West Indies, stretching from North America, Florida, to South America, Venezuela. At the southernmost end of the chain, immediately adjacent to Venezuela, is Trinidad. Then comes Grenada, and this is followed by St. Vincent. Between Grenada and St. Vincent are groups of very small islands called the Grenadines. Most of these Grenadines, including Bequia, the northernmost, and its neighbors to the east, I don't know how to pronounce that in that one, so we're not going to butcher them, are part of the state of St. Vincent. Directly east of St. Vincent is Barbados, while immediately to the north is St. Lucia, and this is followed by Martinique. The prevailing winds in the area are the northeast trades, and these touch at Barbados first, then come on to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Thus, ships drifting from Barbados almost invariably make landfall in St. Vincent or the Grenadines, right? This part is important. Check. I'm gonna show y'all. This is crazy. Check this out. right? So what did this say? This is from oh no, wrong book, right? This is from Indian slavery in South Carolina. So what does this say? This is proof that a lot of those Caribs, right, were shipped over here to America, and a lot of the people here in America were shipped over there to the West Indies, thus proving that even the black people over here have Carib Indians in their blood. They have this stuff in their blood. And what are the skin complexions of these people? Copper colored. So who are the Caribs? Who are the Caribs? Check this out. The Virginians backed up these harsher viewpoints in actual practice after the uprising. In 1627, a Captain Sampson arrived in Virginia with a boatload of Carib Indians from the West Indies. The assembly discovered that the Indians had run away and had hid themselves in the woods, aka Cimarroons or Seminoles, runaways, Cimarroons or Seminoles, attempting to go to the Indians of this country, to go to their brothers and sisters for help, right? To go to their brothers and sisters for help. So they basically went, got some Indians from the West Indies and then brought them to Virginia, and then took some Indians from Virginia and brought them to the West Indies. So who are the Carib Indians if all of this stuff is mixed in these people's blood, right? Who are they truly? What is the tribal name? How do we classify these people? You know, the only classification that I could think about is just calling them Negro. They're Negro. The Carib Indians are Negroes. Right, but let's check this out. Let's continue, right? So where we at? One final point about the geography of the area that it is worth bearing in mind is that it is hurricane prone. Like I said, hurricane prone. There was a lot of natural disasters happening. So these people had to survive without food a lot of times and were forced to eat one another. And this is why they called them Caribs, cannibals. Why they got that name. That's why. These violent storms being most prevalent between June and September. These storms have played no mean part in the history of St. Vincent. The recorded history, of course, begins with the arrival of Columbus in the West Indies. The inhabitants that he found in these islands are believed to have come up the chain from Venezuela, right? Their original home being the Orinoco Basin. So Caribs come from Venezuela. But we seen that on the maps. We learned that from the maps, right? This is who are the Caribs. If they're not them white complexion giants, right? Who are the Caribs? Who are they, right? The Europeans on their arrival found that St. Vincent contained far more Caribs than any other island. Some historians have attributed this to the Caribs' liking for St. Vincent's rugged terrain and good fishing grounds. Like I said, they were fishermen. Since other islands in the chain have these characteristics too, in fact, there are others more favored in this respect than St. Vincent. It is more likely that when Europeans arrived, only the advanced guard of the Caribs had got as far as St. Kitts. The main wave had only reached St. Vincent, where they were gathering in preparation for the next move northward, so they kept migrating northward, thus proving that they eventually, ended up coming close to Jamaica, Dominican Republic, or Haiti, Haiti, Jamaica, like I said, Puerto Rico, and being able to mix in with the Taino population, right? Creating these copper-colored aboriginals that we see right here, or like Nagas, like Nagas, big facts, the Nagas, right? The Nagas, right? Or creating these people, like I said, these Carib Taino mixed peoples, right? Different complexions, right? A lighter skin one, a darker skin one, then a medium complexion, different peoples. Yeah, let's continue. Way too far off. Where we at? All right. Okay. Boom. Be that as it may, the arrival of the Europeans put paid to any such plans. The mountainous nature of the island's terrain and the large number of Caribs inhabitants combined to make the Europeans give St. Vincent a fairly wide berth. And in the Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle in 1748, St. Vincent was declared to be neutral. It is, however, not accurate to say, as some historians have done, that the Caribs were left unmolested. Raleigh visited the place in 1595 and subsequently spread stories about the cannibalistic nature of its inhabitants. Why were they cannibals, though? Like I said, they already told us it was hurricane prone. Also, these people were fishermen. So around these times, during times of natural disasters, or even when the pirates were out there on their ships and being shipwrecked and forced to make landfall, right? Especially in islands where they weren't, natural to, they didn't have established a sense of comfortability already. What were they forced to do? How were they to survive? They were forced to be cannibals, and this is where it developed that cannibalistic nature. So this is why earlier in the book they were saying that the Aracapas or the Naulo or the Alegui were cannibals. They were Caribs. That's why they were calling them Caribs. Why? Because what the Europeans saw over there in the West Indies, they saw the same thing with the people over there in Louisiana. Even though they were two different skin complexions, two entirely different groups of peoples, they categorized them the same thing because of their nature. Right? Which that's something that was done a lot throughout history, right? And this is why we can't run with exonyms. We got to do the research and learn more about history and people to understand who they truly are, because it can help us connect to our ancestors. Like I said, a lot of people from the West Indies, Hispanic people, right? Jamaicans, Caribbeans in general, they have this in their DNA. Taino, and they'll even deny the fact that they're black. But like I said, skin colors be dark as hell. But this is who you truly are. You can't deny it. You can't run away from it. We just have to connect. Return to the roots, do the research, and connect. That's it. That's the only thing we can do at this point. The English monarchs were continually granting the place to one duke or another. A Frenchman, M. Dublanc, even declared war on the Caribs, and as we shall see later, the Caribs had to repel two serious efforts at settlement, one by the English and another by the French. Despite all this, the Caribs in St. Vincent not only survived but also prospered. They came to be regarded as the warriors who would assist their fellow Caribs in other islands in the struggles against Europeans. These niggas was the hit squad, right? We learned this, right? I learned this after a live stream with my brother Minister and another brother. We had a live stream, right? We did a live stream and the brother said it. He proved it for me. That's all I needed, was to hear from one of the people from the land, right? The Caribs was the hit squad. This is the hit squad. These were the groups of people being sent out to murk off on Europeans, right? Like straight up murk off, right? Life or death, it does not matter. We're going to go over there, do what we got to do, and we don't care if we die. We'll eat you if we have to. We will eat you if we have to. Straight up. Especially to protect our land. This is who they were. Right? They had a sophisticated style of invasion too. They're straight up going butcher the men. Butcher them and take all of the women. Take all of the women. That's how they did that. And they enslaved a lot of Europeans. A lot. A lot. And this is how these people ended up mixing, especially over there in the West Indies. Where we at? Let's continue. Peace, family. What it do? Chicken stew. Despite all this, the Caribs in St. Vincent not only survived but also prospered. Right? They were also regarded as the warriors who assisted their fellow Caribs in other islands in the struggles against Europeans. It is reported that they possessed some large canoes, not them small little boats they show you on TV, right? That they show you in them racist cartoons, not them small little boats. They had large canoes capable of carrying up to 60 warriors. They were pirates. They controlled the seas. The Caribs controlled the seas of the West Indies. They navigated the seas like Nobody else would be able to. As a matter of fact, a lot of the people who ended up learning how to navigate these seas, even the Magellan dude, they learned a lot of this information from these people, how to traverse through the West Indies. They learned it from these people. Hernan de Soto, a lot of folks. But let's continue. They would launch and sail with amazing dexterity for the islands where their assistance was needed. It is clear too that when the Caribs and other islands were defeated in the fleet, it was to St. Vincent they came. St. Vincent, their motherland, right? Now, this always takes me back to this, they were African, or these people are African theory, right? If it was like that, why not go back to Africa? Why run back to St. Vincent? Why not just go back to Africa where you came from, right? You're going back to St. Vincent. Why? Because that's where you fall back, That's your fallback point. They said they were from the Orinoco Basin in Venezuela. Not Venezuela, in South America. Right once they left and kept traveling northward, they found a new home in St. Vincent. So that just means that St. Vincent is their base of operations. They call this place home. This land is native to them. So they're not from Africa. They're from South America, but they call St. Vincent home. For instance, Van der Plas suggests that the Bayubas, a tribe of Caribs, were forced to flee their native Guadalupe, and settled near to a river midway on the east coast of St. Vincent, thus giving the place their name, Bayabu, which today is a large village about 13 miles from Kingstown, the capital of St. Vincent. You see? You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm hitting at? After leaving the mainland, they found a new home in St. Vincent. Called that home. St. Vincent is their home. Even have a place in St. Vincent named after these group of people. That's how real it is. Probably, the Caribs might have survived even longer had they not made the fatal mistake of inviting French priests to live among them. It appears that a French sailor had enticed 2 young Caribs, one of them the son of an influential chief, onto his ship and sold them as slaves in Tortuga. General Poincy ordered the boys to be returned to St. Vincent, and in return, they were sent to St. Kitts to thank him. While there, they met a French priest, Pierre Orgarbon. Okay, now we got a name, who spoke the Carib language, and they invited him to come to St. Vincent and spread the gospel. Right, this was a part of the indoctrination too, right? So this is why they said, right, if they didn't make the fatal mistake of letting this priest in, they would have never lost their land or even been defeated in the first place, right? Or even relocated out of St. Vincent in the first place. It was all because of this gospel, this plan of indoctrination, this plan that they used to basically enslave thousands and thousands and thousands of Aborigine inhabitants, right? The gospel, that thing that they preach in the churches and everything, that gospel is so dangerous, right? That's poison. This is that poison that they use to enslave people. Pierre Orgarbon arrived in St. Vincent in 1653, where he estimated the population of the Caribs to be about 10,000. Later, Orgarbon was joined by another priest, Pierre Guillemot. It was customary for each priest to be accompanied by a lay assistant and 1 or 2 slaves. Previously, it had been suggested that the headquarters of these missionaries were Barwali, but our researchers, however, indicate that it was near to Chateau Blair. It is clear from all accounts that the French priests made little impact on the Caribs. In their own phase, they labored being into Lissime. Right? What does this mean? Let's see. I like to do research on that type of stuff. Okay, not giving us a definition. Maybe y'all can help me out with that one too. Drop a comment if you know what this means right here. Bier into Lissime, right? In their own phrase, they labored. Does this mean enslavement? Is this another term for work or enslavement or labor? The organization or the lack of or the organization, or rather lack of organization of Carib society, made the propagation of the gospel extremely difficult. The Caribs were fiercely individualistic, with chiefs emerging mainly in time of war. That's how savage they were, though. They laid low, right? They laid low until it was time to go to war. Until the Taino peoples or their allies called upon them, until the hit squad was called upon, these people laid low. And when it was time for war, they came through clutching. And this is, like I said, this is why they got terms like Caribs, because they would do some crazy things, right, to off their enemy. But that's also because they know what it felt like. They know what war feels like. They know what it means to take it there, because they come from that type of society. The difficulties, too, of reconciling the precepts of the French priests with the practices of their other countrymen who sought to take away the Caribs and enslave them must also have made the Caribs somewhat skeptical. Matters came to head when in 1654, the Caribs, at an inner island council, resolved to drive the French from the islands. One of their first acts was to massacre the French priests and their assistants in St. Vincent. You see, they were already ready to rebel. Because, you know, you got to think about it. It's like, all right, we got these people over here in our land. We're not familiar to whatever they got going on. We're not familiar to this. It's different to what our norm was. It's different. And it's natural to feel threatened to what's different, especially if it's not a part of your societal norm. So they started plotting. And in the midst of that plotting, we're going to figure out that the European powers on their end were plotting as well. Let's continue. In reprisal, the French sent an expedition and 3 men of war to deal with the Caribs in St. Vincent. For 8 days, they systematically destroyed the Caribs, their villages, and whatever little cultivation they had. Wow, you see? Like I said, they plotted on them and got up with them, right? And it says, this was not the only disaster to befall the Caribs, as on July 13th, 1653. The island had been struck by a violent hurricane, and these hurricanes were happening often around this time. Often, you know. That's why I said they were familiar to war, because they knew how to survive. Moreover, the Negroes from Africa. Moreover, the Negroes from Africa had by this time made parents with consequences that were to be extremely far-reaching. The Negroes from Africa, right? This is so funny because listen to what they say later on in this story. I love this part because they're about to get real in depth for us, right? The precise origin of these Negroes has been difficult to determine. They don't know where these Negroes come from. The available evidence, however, suggests that they may have gotten here in 3 different ways. The first group or groups were apparently captured and enslaved by the Caribs. They are the Caribs. Right? But you see how they like to say they've been captured and enslaved? I got some fire for y'all. Aboriginal people didn't practice no forms of slavery, right? They didn't do that type of stuff. That's something that's a European thing, right? And I'm gonna prove this to y'all. Let's check this out. Okay, so what does this say? What we got? So this is from the book Intertwined Threads of Red and Black Peoples, right? So it says war, captivity, and bondage occurred pre-contact, but these practices were fundamentally different from white settler colonial systems of chattel slavery. They did not enslave people. They had war captives and whatever the case may be, but often and a lot of times these captives either ended up becoming a part of the hierarchy or family. They became family. Oh, okay. Thank you. Very useless. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you. I appreciate that, brother. Thank you. My guy. You the man, bro. You the man. Yeah, but look, They didn't practice in any form of chattel slavery. So when we reading, right, and we see stuff like that says like these Negroes were captured or enslaved by the Caribs, you gotta look at the facts. They didn't practice in no forms of chattel slavery. It's completely different, right? Indigenous people were not monolithic, and customs varied greatly across the Americas, right? They had multiple wives. They practiced in polygamy, right? Polygamy, definitely. If that's the same thing, sorry. And customs vary greatly across the Americas. Some indigenous groups, most of which are in Central America, practice forms of captivity prior to contact that closely resembled European constructs of slavery, as they were connected to religion, ritual, and imperial power. Some, right? They say some. Well, check this out. Yet these models were not race-based or primarily economically motivated. In North America, the captive practices in place at the time of European were not tantamount to slavery. It was not slavery. And the incorporation of captives into tribal societies provided differential access to upward mobility and social equality. For example, Iroquois captives could become fully integrated and even respect elders, whereas Algonquin captives were members of households but not considered fully equal. None of these indigenous practices were compatible with European expectations of slavery, nor were they comparable with the then developing European concepts of plantation economics. No way, Jose. They did not practice in the same forms of slavery. That wasn't something that these people did. They didn't get down like that. Right? And subscribe to the Morals of Money platform on YouTube, man. We going crazy, bro. We are going crazy, man. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Copper Color King, all across the board, man. We going crazy. But like I said, right, they're gonna say that these Negroes were slaves of the Caribs. How are they slaves of the Caribs when indigenous peoples in the Americas didn't practice in any forms of chattel slavery? It wasn't comparable, and it isn't compatible. Right? Forced labor for profit, perpetual slavery, and slaves as property were not indigenous concepts. In fact, these differences routinely created diplomatic issues when French settlers were not free to enslave people they had required or returned them during diplomatic peace accords. Right? And like they said, the French was over there fucking with the Caribs. It was messing with them, right? Stirring up shit in the pot. And they're gonna say, right? They're gonna say they were captured and enslaved. No way, Jose. They were family. These were Caribs. They were Caribs. And proof of that is in the excerpt itself. You don't know where they came from. Well, if you don't know where they came from, then it's obviously that they are from there. You cannot find no ancestral source for them because you're standing on the place that they come from. St. Vincent, the Americas, right? Make it make sense. Make it make sense, man. Make it make some mother loving sense. That's why I love doing this. But let's continue. Right? For almost a century before efforts were made to colonize the Lesser Antilles, usually by the French or English, the Spaniards were carrying slaves from Africa to Santo Domingo. Right? And mind you guys, right? I just want to let y'all know. The first slaves in the Americas were from Europe. That's one. Two, like I just showed y'all, they were transporting slaves from the Americas to the West, from the West Indies to the Americas that whole entire time. So what you mean from Africa? Right? Look, in 1716, Captain Harry Beverly and his ship were captured by the Spanish. Many Indian slaves were on board, undoubtedly being transported to the West Indies for sale. So what are you talking about? Africans? No, you cannot make that claim because history tells us otherwise. right? These ships, right? Pirates of the Caribbean. We can't forget Blackbeard, Jack Sparrow. We can't forget. We can't forget that stuff actually existed, man. When these slave ships were coming from the Americas to the West Indies, right? Or even from the West Indies to the Americas, they were being intercepted, and slaves were being sold back in both colonies, in both parts of the land. So who are these black Caribs truly? Are you going to make this claim that they're Africans because they're black? Or are you going to admit to who they truly are? More proof, right? What was going on with the Americas and the West Indies, right? What does it say? A Virginia judge in the late 18th century argued that the supply of Indian slaves, natives of the continent of America, between 1682 and 1705 must have been very scanty, adverting to the state of things with respect to our neighboring Indians during that period. And there was never any source of supply from abroad, except such as might be kidnapped in the West Indies, for their slaves were more valuable than hair. There were never any source of a supply from abroad. There was never a source of supply from abroad. What's abroad? Across the seas. So are these people African? Are they Africans? You cannot make that claim. Because why? The slaves in America were being kidnapped in the West Indies. These were the Taino Carib peoples. These black Caribs, right? That's these black Caribs, these people. Oh yeah, that's these people being brought over here to the Americas, right? I'm not even gonna lie. Son on the far left looked like me when I was a little younger. No fake, yeah, big facts. Yeah, you see it. You see it. I see it. But let's continue, right? I got more for y'all. What was going on in the West Indies? You got to understand. It's a lot to understand, right? This propaganda report did not tell the whole story. However, several minor clashes over the conduct of Indian white trade occurred, and certain abusive trading practices were established in the first 10 years of the colony's existence. In 1674, a skirmish with the Indians living along the Stono River led to the capture of several prisoners. These Indian captors were sold to the colonial traders on their way to the West Indies. Indians being sold in the West Indies, right? Indians being sold in the West Indies. So who, right? It says usually by French or English, right? These Spaniards were carrying slaves from Africa to Santo Domingo, but we just read that the Spanish were invading or capturing British and French ships with Indians on board and selling the Indians in the West Indies. So are these people from Africa? Get the story straight. You got us running all over the place, man. And that's why people have a hard time figuring it out now. They don't know where they come from. They don't have a clue because of stuff like this. Get the story straight. Stop fucking around. We don't have time for this no more. We don't want to be lied to, because you got people like me, people like Minister Information. We got to get on YouTube and put out this information. And sometimes it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy, right? But this is why we have certain supporters that keep us going, because it just all supports the idea that we should be sharing this truth. Everybody needs to hear this, man. You need to understand this is your ancestry. This is where you come from. Your genealogy, basically, in a nutshell. Right? Let's continue, though. What it say? Look, the Caribs had a habit of luring the Spanish ships into rocks and shoals by giving incorrect directions to their crews. Right? Once these ships had been wrecked, the Caribs would kill the crew and take over the cargo, be it gold, eduvai, or slaves. I bet. So they they capturing these Spanish ships, right, when they being shipwrecked. So what did we just learn about who was capturing the Indians, though, right? What did we just learn? It said in 1716, Captain Harry Beverly and his ship were captured by the Spanish. Many Indian slaves were on board, undoubtedly being transported to the West Indies for sale. So if the Spanish were capturing these ships with Indians on board, and then we learn that the Caribs would basically send false signals to the Spanish, right? And once the ships had been wrecked, they'd take the cargo. So if this cargo was Indians, and they saying that the Negroes in St. Vincent are basically captured and enslaved, then who are these Negroes? Other Indians. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. That's what I'm saying, bro. Make it make sense. That's why I like cross-referencing different articles and stuff like that, because we have to make sense. It wouldn't make sense for you to tell me that they were Africans, right? They coming from Africa to St. Domingo, right? The Spaniards were carrying them, right? But when we read in the book, what does it say about the Spaniards, right? The Spaniards, pirates, were capturing ships with Indians on board. And these Indians were cargo that were about to be transported to the West Indies. And then we learn that the Spaniards were carrying slaves, quote unquote, from Africa. And the Caribs had a habit of luring these Spanish ships into the rocks. And then once they kill a crew, once the ship was wrecked and the Caribs would kill a crew, they'd take the cargo being Indians, right? These Indians assimilating with their culture, thus becoming family. Why? Because these Aborigines in America did not have a form of chattel slavery. For example, Iroquoian captives would become fully integrated and even respected elders, where Algonquin captives were members of households. They were becoming part of the family. Come on, man. Come on, we really smoking shit, bro. Who are the Caribs? Because they not those white complexion, Nahulo, flesh eating, even though they did, do their little thingy thing, whatever the case may be, as far as cannibalism goes. But they not the Nahulo. They are not the Alegui. They are not Native Americans. They aren't giants. Average size of these people for men about 5'9", 5'10". The average Negro, some being 6'3", 6'4". Now that's considered a tall stature, tall, broad, strong, the depiction of a superhero for these people. Not no white complexion, Nahulo, climbing out the caves. These people don't even have caves. They live on an island. So even if they did have caves, it was probably used for shelter from natural disasters. Other than that, they was out there living in huts and houses made out of mud and clay or whatever the case may be. All right, that's why I say we got to go into it. Doing the research, you start finding out shit, make it make sense. We not African. Not all of us are African. Can't say every Negro or every black person is African. That's conjecture. That's the X on them. It's a lie. It's false information. It's his story. It's not your story. It's not my story. It's not the truth, right? Let's continue though. It's interesting. Later, when the French and English settled most of the Lesser Antilles, leaving St. Vincent and Dominica to the Caribs, the latter would make excursions from their two islands and carry off slaves from the French and English plantations. Several documents attest to the presence of Negroes in St. Vincent at an earlier date. Why? Because they were Indians. Negroes, Indians, same people. They were Caribs. Just of a darker complexion. Armand de la Plaque, a Dominican missionary, writing in 1646, refers to them. In British Calendar of State Papers, 1661 to 1662, St. Vincent is referred to being as all Indians and some Negroes from the loss of two Spanish ships. Boom, right there. Because what did it just say was going on around this time, right? 1716, not too far from that. Not too far from that, we got more between 1682 and 1705. Right? All of these dates are close. Like MOY say, pay attention to timestamps. All of these dates are close. So these Negroes, obviously, according to the information, are Indians. They're just more Caribs that mixed in, or Indians that may have came from USA that mixed in with these groups of peoples. But they can't identify it now because they have so many different skin complexions now. You got light skin, brown skin, dark skin. It's hard to identify. And this is why the history of the Carib people is so interesting, because what the colonizers did was they found or devised a strategy to separate them. They separated them and used color and forced these people against each other. Watch this. Let's continue. See what else we got. Where we at? Yeah, boom. Lord Willoughby, who described St. Vincent as covered with woods, Indians and blacks. And Philip Warner stated in 1676 that St. Vincent had some 3,000 Negroes and no island as many Indians. Negroes, Indians, same people. Dodge that. Dodge the hijack. The second major source from which the Negroes may have come is a Dutch ship carrying slaves from the Bight of Benin, West Africa, to Barbados, right? And let me let y'all know something right now, right? These Dutch were pirates too. These Dutchmen were pirates too. And they were capturing a lot of the Indian slaves coming out of the Americas as well. What's good for the geese is good for the gander. That was the source of commodity. That's where the money was, right? That was the easiest way to transport and get slaves from one place to another. They couldn't go back to Africa and to America that many times, make all of these different trips and bring all these people over here successfully. No, 9 times out of 10, 85% of these trips would have failed due to the harsh weather conditions. You would have had mad wrecked ships, right? The only reason why these succeeded because they was doing it between the West Indies and America, not always from Africa. You got to dodge that. It's a hijack. It's a lie right there. That's a lie that is told to get people to distance themselves from the truth. Now, mind you, they brought some Africans over here. I'm not going to deny that. But we're not going to sit here and say all dark-skinned black people or Negroes came from Africa. We cannot make that claim. That is a false reality. That is a false re-fucking-ality. We cannot make that claim. All right, but as you see, right, and even more important, right, the African countries didn't get colonized until the 1800s. You got countries in Africa that names are as new as 1960. So there wasn't no colonizing going on over there in Africa. Yeah, they said they were selling slaves. That's what they said they were doing over there. Selling slaves, or prisoners of war were being sold because the nations over there were warring with one another. They were selling slaves, but they weren't bringing as many slaves over here from Africa to the Americas. They couldn't complete them trips. It just wasn't possible. Yeah, the boats as well. That's a big fact. The boats they were using were pieces of shit, bro. Like real spill. They make this claim, right? I like looking at this one right here. This one gets me. This one always gets me, right? This one always gets me. I like looking at this one, right? Because they say the canoes were small, but as we read, they could carry 66 people. They show us these pictures in the history books, like ships filled with all of these damn people, right? Not possible. It was not possible, especially to make it over here with 80% of them alive. Most of them would have died. That trip was not an easy trip, especially under them weather conditions. It was not an easy trip. But yeah, they show us these pictures, and it's like they depict that you had all of these slaves on the boat, or majority of black people came on the boat, right? They got these pictures, these weird pictures, right? That put this false reality in your brain, right? Like this is how they was really doing it. Like ships didn't get this big until the 1990s, until the world wars, my G. They didn't get this big until the world wars. To hold this many people, Hell nah. Hell nah. Ain't no way. Ain't no, hold on. Because I wasn't even showing y'all. I'm sorry. We got to look at this again. These was the alleged slave ships. These were the alleged slave ships. Mind you, they're just paintings. These is paintings. Nobody can show us for sure if this was real. But it ain't no way. Because majority of these people would have died. 80% of them would have died. Under these conditions, coming over here on a boat, like laid out like this, stacked up like dominoes, stacked like slices of bread. Bro, come on. False reality, bro. False reality. Impossible. Impossible. Right? Because the canoes over here in America were bigger than these ships. And they said the canoes could hold up to 66 people. So you telling me y'all was bringing 300,000 slaves, 400,000, 500,000 slaves from Africa on these boats? Bullshit. I call it cap. It's cap. Guilty until proven is innocent, right? It's cap. It's bullshit. Look, the ship foundered off the east coast of Bequia in 1675. Records do not indicate why the ship foundered, but it is reasonable to suppose that it might as well encountered that hurricane that struck Barbados in August of 1675. It is significant that Janet, a hurricane that struck Barbados in 1955, also devastated the southern Grenadine. Ironically enough, though, these Negroes would have been chained below deck, and one would expect them to be unable to help themselves, right? Listen to this. This is why it doesn't make sense. They appear to have been the only survivors. So you telling me these niggas, right? You telling me in a hurricane, in a goddamn hurricane, below deck, chained up, that these niggas survived? That's what they saying. That these niggas survived. Bro, I don't care if you told me that these were God's chosen people. I still wouldn't believe that. Because chain me up in the bottom of a boat with 1,000 means like this, and I bet you we not making it out alive. Chained? Chained? You can't even escape the chain gang. This is why it doesn't make sense. Yo, bro, seriously though, like, seriously. Nah, for real. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. Be for real. We gotta be for real. Look, that's why they saying, ironically enough, though the Negroes would have been chained below deck, and one would expect them to be unable to help themselves, right? This is what you would expect. I don't care if people say that Yahweh took control of the. I believe in the Most High. I'm a believer in the Great Spirit. I'm in tune with my community. That's why Copper Color King. That's why we doing this, because I get down like that. I don't care if people would have said Jesus was walking on water to save that damn boat. Ain't no way in hell you surviving that chained up. Bro, we can't block, bro. Mother Nature is dangerous, right? If she gonna get you, she gonna get you. Right? These people could barely go out to sea during a hurricane. Flights can't even take off during the hurricane, but you gonna tell me 300,000 Africans, 300,000 Africans, right, survived a hurricane, chained up on the chain gang? Bullshit, bro. Bullshit, bro. Bullshit. Bullshit. It's bullshit. It's cap. It's cap. Salute. You know that, baby. We do this, man. We do this. It's what we do. For sure. Right? But let's continue. They managed to reach Bequia. Let me see. Right, hold on. I just need to see where Bequia is, y'all. And for my peoples who from the Caribbean islands or who've been over there before, update me. Like, let me know. What am I like? Where is it? Where is Bequia? Oh, it's St. Lucia. Okay. St. Lucia. All right. I see. It's the Grenadines. I see it. I don't need y'all to tell me no more. I found it. All right. False alarm. I got it. I got it. All right, let's continue. So they ran into Michbuquia where they were looked after by the Caribs. All right, another thing to make note of. Why would strangers just openly like, oh, look, all right, let me help you, if they weren't familiar with them already? Why? Or if they weren't like black already, right? Like, oh, like on some real like black nigga shit, like you in the woods and you stranded and you see another black nigga stranded, right? Like, what you gonna do? Y'all sticking together. It's y'all against the world until y'all find another black nigga. And once y'all find another black nigga, God bless America, because y'all the luckiest black niggas stranded in that woods. Once you find one, that's it. Your confidence goes from 0 to 100. So you got to think about it. Like, you think if they saw strangers that they weren't even familiar with, like, or if the Caribs were different from the Negros, it would have been like, hey, let's help. Oh, it would have been on site. Who are these niggas? Why they on our land? I don't know you. I don't recognize you. I'm not familiar with what you look like. Bitch is a difference. Nigga, you go over there now, they could tell an American from a islander quick, super duper quick. That's because the styles of culture is different. It's been like that for hundreds of years. You can't just say an African in the 1600s step the same as a Carib in the 1600s. No, two different cultures. But when they saw them, they was like, oh yeah, we're gonna look after them, because they were already familiar. You got to make it make sense. Right. Economically stupid. Right. And you know, and this is why I like to say this too, right? These Europeans were terrible investors, bro. They were terrible investors. Don't make dollars and it don't make sense. Big facts. They were terrible investors, because if this what they was doing with their cargo, you can only imagine. Right. Subsequently, they came across the St. Vincent and were absorbed into the yellow Carib communities. Remember when I said they divided the Caribs, right? They divided them by giving two classifications. One black and one yellow. Now, when we say one black, one yellow, is this lady on the far right and this mofo on the far left. One black, one yellow. But they're the same people. Right? And when you read the history of Dominica, they said that these people, in a nutshell, no matter of the hues, were copper colored. They were the color of copper, swarthy. But this is a yellow Carib and this is a black Carib. They played a division game. Nah, it's okay though. We still here, man. We still here. Copper color love. We go crazy. Let's do it. We still here. We're gonna be going for a good minute. But yeah, what it say? The third and probably the most important source from which the Negroes came from was Barbados. It's right, because most of the black Europeans were over there in Barbados, right? Most of the first slaves in Barbados were European. Jamaica, Barbados, Haiti, they were European, black Europeans. That's who they were. The Maroons, the Cimarroons, the Maroons, black Europeans escaping the religion, the thing going over there with them kicking out the Moors. I forgot the term. Is it Inquisition? I forgot. Maybe y'all could drop a comment, familiarize me again. I forgot the term. I know what I'm talking about 100%. I know what I'm talking about 100%. Halito family, Halito, Halito, love. How you feeling? Yeah, refresh my memory, y'all. Is it the Inquisition? I'm forgetting, right? But it's something that happened over there where they was expelling a lot of the Jews and Moors. A lot of them were coming over here under the Christian banner, right? But still practicing their shit in secret. You know, they called these people crypto Jews, right? They were Christians in public, but Jews and Muslims in private. These were black people, though. These were the Moors over there in Europe. The Moors, not the Moors, the Moors. and that they were the first peoples of that were slaves or indentured servants in Barbados, Jamaica, and Haiti, and places like that. Hence the Haitian Revolution, right? The dude Toussaint Louverture was a Carib mixed, Taino mixed, Black European, and that's why after the war they expelled him to France. They expelled him to France. They didn't send his ass to Africa. They sent him to France, where he died. Make it make sense, right? Make it make sense. It has already been mentioned that most of the Lesser Antilles, Inquisition, yeah, yep. All right, there we go. I wasn't bugging. Inquisition. It has already been mentioned that most of the Lesser Antilles, including Barbados, were colonized, while St. Vincent and Dominica were left to the Caribs. The slaves in Barbados did not take long to discover that a boat or even a raft drifting from Barbados would in St. Vincent. How? Because they already knew. They were already familiar with this type of stuff, with these forms of navigation. They've been there before, right? They end up at St. Vincent, where they could once more enjoy their freedom in the island's thickly wooded mountains. To a lesser extent, the slaves in St. Lucia probably noting to how quickly the Caribs canoes covered the 28 miles between St. Vincent and St. Lucia. How quickly the Caribs canoes say what? Top of the line sailors, these pirates, top of the line, these canoes. How quick they covered the 28 miles, the 28 nautical miles, right? Also used this as an escape route. As a result, the Negroes found their numbers enormously swollen by this wave of illegal immigrants from Barbados and St. Lucia. By 1700, the Negroes were well established. Lapat, a French priest, delightful travel writer, and master spy, visited the island in 1700. His comments on the situation are not only well put into his inimitable laconic style, but they are also extremely intimidating. Below they are quoted verbatim. Our vessel was no sooner anchored than it was filled with Carib Negroes come to see us. Caribs and Negroes come to see us, and to ask for brandy. All these gentlemen were recruited, that is, painted red, or most of them at any rate, a little strip of cloth over their parts. This uniform attire does not prevent the Caribs being easily distinguishable from the Negroes, the latter having fine kinky hair like wool, whereas that of the Caribs is black, long, straight, and very coarse. All right, now one may ask themselves, well, what's the difference? Hair like wool and coarse hair, it's the same thing, right? It's the same thing. And I had to really look at it. I had to really go and look at it myself. They said, well, hair like wool, right? So this is hair like wool. Of course, they're going to show us all of these beautiful melanated queens, right? But then black coarse hair, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Same thing. It's no difference. Hey, shout that out. Shout that out, right? The real pirates of the Caribbean. Big facts. Big facts. That story was based off them. Hair like wool. Hold on, let me take this picture down for y'all. Sorry, y'all. Hair like wool. And y'all didn't even get to see that last part. Well, damn. It said, right, all these gentlemen were recruited, that is, painted red, and wore most of them at any little strip of cloth over their parts. This uniform attire does not prevent the Caribs being easily distinguished from the Negroes, the latter having fine kinky hair like wool, whereas that of the Caribs is black, long, straight, and very coarse. Right? This is coarse hair. And then you got wool hair. Wool hair, coarse hair. There is no difference. There is no difference. So how would you differentiate a Negro from a Carib? You can't. Why? Because they're the same people. The author just proved that for us. The author just proved that for us. These is who these black Caribs really are, the people of St. Vincent. So we got to get into truth. Who are they? We got to get into truth. Caribs is just a name given to them because of their cannibalistic nature. But being a Carib is much deeper than that. What is a Carib? What is a Carib? What is a Carib? Somebody drop below, right? What is a Carib? They're much deeper than that. They can't be just known for being cannibals. It's much deeper than that. These are black people. The proof is in their hair, regardless if they're a yellow Carib or a black Carib. The proof is in their hair. Because we all know that non-ether woolly haired beings, we all know what it's hitting for. That non-ether, right? That them woolly haired beings. Y'all see that? Y'all see that? Come on, man. Come on. Check out these beautiful queens right here with their woolly, coarse hair. On the island of Puerto Rico, these Carib, Taino, beautiful queens right here. That's why I keep showing these pictures. You know, drop this one for y'all. We should have been built that goddamn wall. We should have been built that goddamn wall. Making our hair straight like that. Making our skin white like that. What you thought you was doing, man? Black don't crack. You look good forever. You can't stop the rain, man. You can't stop the rain, man. Let's continue. Let me continue for y'all, right? Let's take this picture down. But even where this indication lacking, as would be the case if all their heads were shaved, it would still be easy to know them by their look of their heads, by their eyes, their mouths, and their corpulence. In all which respects, the ones differ greatly from the others. Somebody drop in the comments what corpulence means. Drop it in the comments, man. I don't feel like researching that one. He continued, this is the center of the Carib Republic, the place where the savages are most numerous. Dominicana not approaching it. Besides the savages, this island is also inhabited by a great number of fugitive Negroes, for the most part from Barbados, being to windward of St. Vincent. Oh, right. You know who else is from Barbados? You know who else is from Barbados? And this is why I say, right? This is what I say, right? I'm trying to show y'all the slave master from Barbados. Right? I forgot his name. It's Anthony. All right, we're gonna skip over that. But yeah, black slave master from Barbados. Crazy because I always know what I'm looking for until I'm about to do this. It's crazy. It'd be like that though. But yeah. So who are these fugitive Negroes? Right? Who are these fugitive Negroes? These black Europeans? Were these those black Europeans? But I'm gonna show y'all a video right once we get to the end of this. That's gonna kind of sum that up or wrap that up for us, right? Right. This island is also inhabited by a very great number of fugitive Negroes, for the most part from Barbados, which being to windward of St. Vincent, gives the runaways every possible facility for escaping from their masters. These Maroons, these Cimarrones, Seminoles. Seminoles. This is where the term comes from because they were running away. Everybody kept running away, right? Escaping from their masters' plantations in boats or on pipiers or rafts, and taking refuge among the savages. The Caribs formerly brought them back to their masters when they were at peace with them, or took and sold them to the French or to the Spaniards. I don't know for what reason they changed their method. No one has induced them to receive these Negroes amongst themselves and to regard them as belonging to one and the same nation. Why would they do that? Because they are Carib. They are Carib, right? Let's continue. It is reasonable to assume that the vast majority of migrants were male. At the same time, there's evidence to suggest that the surplus of women among the yellow Caribs, as it was their custom to collect women as booty in war and add them to their households, right? I told y'all they had a sophisticated style of invasion. In fact, the main reason why Carib men spoke one language and women another, Arawak, is that many of the women were captive Arawaks and their female descendants. Naturally, the Negroes helped themselves, and this soon led to friction between the Negroes and male Caribs. The latter resolved to kill their male children born to Negroes. When they speak on Negroes in this sense, right, they're talking about these black Europeans who found these Carib Indian women to be so beautiful, right? These black Europeans understood the language. They could speak Arawak. They could speak Carib. Right, and this is what creates like that those mixed peoples, and the male Caribs didn't like that. Why? Because they wanted to keep it pure. Let's keep it pure. Let's keep it Carib and Arawak. That's what created that, right, over there in Puerto Rico. For example, the Carib Arawak Taino, the Arawak speaking peoples. This is a representation of what that is over there, right, in Puerto Rico. I read that book. That's the one where they was talking about basically how they got into the American Revolution, what led into that, how they didn't have no rights or whatever the case may be over there in South Carolina, and they was talking about Indians being horse thieves and whatever the case may be, right? Negro, mulatto, banditti, gangs, Indians forced out the VA. Nah, that's a fact though. I read that book, yo. That's so crazy, man, because I'm gonna bring that to the live stream and we're gonna talk about that one. Yep, we're gonna talk about that one because that one right there, that one talks about the history of America and how they pretty much kicked the Aboriginal peoples out of South Carolina or enslaved them. Right, enslaved them, and all the different terms that they use to refer to these people. Right, when you hear horse thieves, whenever you read in something and you hear an author refer to a group of people as horse thieves or whatever the case may be, just know they talking about Aboriginals, and they weren't stealing horses because they wanted to steal horses. No, remember, these animals belong to the land, which means they belong to the people. So they was just taking back what belonged to them, right? Gaspar Yanga, who led a maroon colony of enslaved Africans in the highlands near America. Yeah, this African stuff. I hear that. I hear it. I heard of that, man. I hear it. I'm gonna have to check that one out, right? Check that one out. Oh, okay. Hassakol of the Ochanichi. That's fire, bro. That's fire. Nah, we gonna have to talk about that. I ain't gonna lie, if you want, man, hit my email. I'll throw it here in the banner, right? You can hit my email, and we could get into it. You know, we could talk about it. Right? Like I said, we could talk about it. We could get on this live, and we could talk about it. Throw the email up there in the banner. That one is for you, brother. Oh, yeah. Indentured to Sir Francis Drake. That's dope, because you know what? The Francis Drake expedition, that's over there in the West. So VA Indians indentured to Francis Drake? Woo! You on fire, my boy. Make sure you hit my email, man. We gotta talk about that one. We gotta plan that one out. I'm not gonna lie. That's gonna be a goodie. That's going to be a real goodie. Let's get that one done. I'm not going to lie. We got to get that one done. And subscribe to the Morals and Money platform, man, if you live. Tap in. We going over. History of the Black Caribs, man. History of the Black Caribs. Let's continue. Right. Naturally, with friction, whatever. The latter resolved to kill the male children born to Negroes, who objected vigorously. In the ensuing skirmishes, the Caribs got worst of it and were forced to, if only temporarily, live and let live. The children produced as a result of this union between Carib women and the Negroes have been aptly described by Right Now as having preserved more of the color of their fathers than of their mothers, being tall and stout in contrast to the stocky appearance of Caribs, and speaking with the vehemence close to anger. They were known. They were to become known in history as the Black Caribs to distinguish them from the Amerindian or original Yellow Caribs, and this created that separation. So when they talking about Negroes mixing in, right? They're not speaking about Africans. They speaking about these Black Europeans. These Black Europeans mixing in with the people. They was mixing in. I got proof. Like I said, I got proof. We're gonna go over it. We're gonna go over it. We're gonna go over it. Just let me pull this up for y'all real quick, right? We gotta understand who these Negroes are that they speaking about. We gotta understand. We gotta get an understanding on who these people are, man. Can't let this go unanswered, right? They're gonna keep throwing these terms out there, Negro, this, that, and the third. We already proved that, you know, some of these Negroes are Indians, right? But now our other reference got to be, who are these other groups of Negroes, right? I want to tell y'all something, right? Who on this live stream right now knows who a Huguenot is or what a Huguenot is, right? Who in this live stream knows what a Huguenot is, right? The Huguenots is a religious group of French Protestants who led the Reformed tradition of Protestantism, right? And they were of the 16th, 17th century, largely Calvinists, right? These were the people who were coming over here, right, under these indentured servitude contracts, these Huguenots, thus becoming Negroes. These people are what became Negroes, right? I got more proof of that, right? I got another one to pull up for y'all. Watch this. Who knows about the Black Irish? Which one of y'all know about the Black Irish? Black Irish over here in Jamaica. Who knows about the Black Irish? We're gonna start there. Right? The Black Irish been in the Americas for a long time too. They've been in the Americas for a long time. That's all I'm gonna say. They've been in the Americas for a long time. This is the Black Irish. These are the Negroes that they refer to. These are the Negroes that they refer to. Yup. Ha. Big drop. Yes, sir. Yes. Now y'all pulling out them facts. Yes, sir. This is the Black Irish, though, y'all. That's the Black Irish. That is who the Black Irish is. These are the Negroes that they speak about. Those are the Negroes. I got more for y'all. Right? I just want to give y'all examples of who they are, who they could be referring to. That's all. When they talking about Negroes, who are they referring to? Right? Who are these Negroes here in America? Who are these Black Spaniards? These swarthy Europeans? Who are these people? Right? You got to get an understanding. Right? Just want to show y'all something real quick. Right? Got this one on Pinterest. The Earl of Arrow, nobility of Scotland. The prefect Earl hath lived retired since the Revolution. He is of a brown complexion, middle stature towards 70 years old. Brown complexion, right? Let's make this make sense. So they saying when the Negroes and Caribs, the female Caribs make babies, right? They're referred to after that as Black Caribs, and they're different from the original yellow Caribs. Well, this is what happens when you take two brown skinned people and they have a baby. You have a darker child. You create a darker child. These Black Europeans were intermixing with these indigenous women. They were slaves. They were all on the plantations together, right? They were all on the plantations together. So at some point, you got to think about it. It's bound to happen, right? But these Negroes, like I said, they're not Africans. They're not Africans. Yeah. 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 Some of them are VA Indians, for sure. I got some of it in my blood. I've seen the pictures. I've seen it. With their little quilts on and all that. I've seen it. Seen it. Black people. Right? Light skin, but classified as black. For sure. Right, for sure. Where we at? All right, so look, we up to the French interlude. The population of Black Caribs continued to grow inexorably through both natural increase and a constant flow of runaway slaves from Barbados. You know, these Negroes that they talking about. As a result, they tended to encroach more and more on what the yellow Caribs considered their preserves. The latter, however, had by now learned to their cost that there were no match for the Black Caribs and sought assistance from the governor of Martinique. In 1700, the governor responded by dividing the island into two sections, right? Like I said, they divided the people. He drew a line called Barrière des Alpes in the vicinity of the present colonier, giving the western half to the yellow Caribs and the eastern to the Black Caribs. Segregation. So before they even brought that type of stuff over to the United States, they already was implementing this caste system in the West Indies, segregating these people based off color, segregating them. Okay, so in these situations, you got families like this being broken apart. They breaking these families apart. For sure. Segregation. That means Shorty on the far right is being pushed to a different part, and this family here, these two on the left, is going to a different part. Segregation. That's what that is. Right, and this was the French interlude. They segregated them. That was the only way to be able to conquer the land, divide and conquer. The arrangement appeared to suit all parties, absolutely, without any of them realizing what the other really had in mind. The Black Caribs did not merely accept the governor's ruling. They held it sarsaroscant and were prepared to defend their territory. Like I said, they weren't having it, which subsequently became known as the Carib country against all comers. The arrangement appealed to them as it gave them the eastern coast, where the runaway slaves from Barbados invariably landed. They would therefore be in a position to welcome these additions to their number and prevent them from falling into the hands of the yellow Caribs, who were now prepared to sell them as slaves to the French. Oh, big drop. Because what was happening? Now the Black Caribs is helping the runaway slaves escape, and the yellow Caribs is selling the slaves to the French. Oh, that sounds real familiar, right? It sounds real familiar. This is that caste system. That's that caste system. Divide them by color and divide them by, start separating their rules. Put certain people in power. I mean, now you have yellow Caribs mixed with the blood of the Frenchmen, maybe the white Frenchmen, who just wants control. And now they implement all of these divide and conquer tactics. When the runaway slaves run away, they're gonna feel nothing but comfortable to run to the people that look like them. It makes sense. This was all a part of their plan, right? Divide and conquer, like I said. That's what that is in a nutshell. Right. Costa paintings to make it make sense. Right. Big facts. The yellow Caribs part sort of French as protectors and suppliers of eau de vie. What's eau de vie? Somebody drop it in the comments and let me know. It's a term that translates to the water of life, Oh, it's a brandy. So they were supplying them with brandy. These niggas is alcoholics, right? They wanted the western coast since it would facilitate intercourse with the French in Martinique and St. Lucia. The French had, in the first place, suggested the division as they intended to settle superstitiously among the Yellow Caribs, all the while paying lip service to the Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle and assuring the English that the island was in fact neutral territory. The Yellow Caribs, of course, went out their way to encourage this, so that one day they could join with the French and get rid of the Black Caribs. Damn, that segregation got brothers fighting against each other. Just like now, light skin versus dark skin. It's nothing different, bro. History often repeats itself too much. And this is what we gotta like draw that line at some point. We gotta say like enough is enough. How many times are we gonna go through the same thing before the same thing just happens all over again? How many times can one man be conquered? How many times can one group of people be conquered? We gotta wake up. We gotta wake up. By 1719, the Yellow Caribs. Sorry, y'all. By 1719, the Yellow Caribs felt the time had come to put their plan into operation. The French were enthusiastic since they saw considerable advantage in the scheme for themselves. The superstitious settlements would then not be confined to the western sector, but be extended over the whole island. Moreover, if they could reduce the Black Caribs to submission without killing too many of them, they would obtain an ample supply of slaves at little cost. And so the governor of Martinique gave the project his full support and sent Major Napoleon with 400 volunteers to do battle with the Black Caribs. This is what was going on. Once the French involved themselves, this is what was going on. This is what destroyed these people. And this is what eventually led to them migrating to Central America and creating that Gadifuana community. They lost their land. Because they had to go to war with it with their own people. But they were divided by a higher power. And this was all for greed. It was all for greed. At this time, everything is being considered a commodity. There's no holds barred. And you in the West Indies, specifically Saint Vincent. Small little island over there in the West Indies, right? But such a powerful plot of land, right? Easy navigation to the South America, right? But an easier navigation to the Caribbean islands, the West Indian islands, right? So why not take Saint Vincent? Why not take Saint Vincent? That was the plan. Napoleon's strategy was to join the Yellow Caribs, who could at least serve as guides in the difficult terrain that was, and still is, St. Vincent, and rout the Black Caribs. The plan failed dismally. In the first place, the Yellow Caribs I'm having a hard time pronouncing these words. Reneged on their commitment. No doubt they realized that Napoleon's small and untried force would be no match for the Black Caribs. So rather than join the French, lose and be exposed to the full vengeance of the Black Caribs, they kept out the battle altogether. Right? That's crazy. That is crazy. They didn't even fight. They just sent their brothers to die. That's crazy. In the second place, the Black Caribs, probably for the first time in the Caribbean, but certainly not for the last, embarked upon what centuries later became known as guerrilla warfare. They refused to meet the French in the open combat. During the day, they would be on the defensive, hiding out in the mountain fastnesses, except to climb coconut trees and to pick off the leaders on any expedition that ventured into their strongholds. Told y'all. Sophisticated style of war. These boys right here, right? They really got busy. That guerrilla warfare was officially introduced by the Black Caribs, ladies and gentlemen. So whenever you hear war stories or you hear the term guerrilla warfare, remember, Black Caribs did it first. Or Caribs in general, Aborigines, they did it first. Another thing that we just created that was stolen, that was stolen by the man, It's still your grandmother drawers. Said it in the last one. I'm gonna keep saying it. That's the slogan. Now you're not late. You're not late. We in this bad boy. We going crazy. Let's do it. At night, they will go on the offensive, descending in small groups from unexpected areas on any Frenchman they could find. Major Napoleon and many of his followers were killed, and the remainder retreated to Martinique. The French hushed up the whole incident, no doubt because it perhaps did not have the sanction of the metropolitan government, but also because they did not want it to be known that they had been beaten by the Black Caribs. They didn't want to know that they just got whipped by that guerrilla warfare, whom everyone thought were very unsophisticated, right? That's what they always going to say. Savages, unsophisticated, they don't know how to do nothing. But this happened many different times with many different groups of people, many different tribes. They went, they got busy, handled their business. That's why I did the Chief Tuscaloosa video before this one. The Chief Tuscaloosa video tells it all. He was kicking ass, and that's why Soto was scared of him. He was scared, shook in his boots. Big facts. The Black Caribs, for their part, extracted war damages from the French and boasted about it. They, however, still allowed the French to settle and increase in numbers, though only in the section of the island that governor of Martinique had allocated to the Caribs. One Frenchman, Imperain, secretary to the governor of Martinique, had the temerity to build a house not on the lands of the Black Caribs, but on Carib lands immediately adjacent. The Caribs burnt the house and destroyed the plantation. And why they let a lot of the French settle? Well, that's because they were some of these Negroes. They were some of the Negroes, but the Black Caribs were even some of the white French. Every time a new one came, they'll burn the crib down, destroy the plantation. Why? Because they weren't going back to those ways. They're going to fight for their land, and that's their land, right? And we're going to see, right? They say that these boys is African. These folks is African. Why would they be going so hard, right? Why not just go back to Africa, right? It's the 1700s. They didn't colonize Africa yet. You could easily go back over there. Same way you came, right? On a ship, quote unquote. Once the French had come to accept the existence of the Black Caribs as an established fact, their method of settlement enabled them to live and let live with both yellow and Black Caribs alike. Unlike other European colonists, the French did not see themselves as amassing a large fortune in St. Vincent and the possible time and retiring to the mother country to live happily thereafter. Rather, they considered St. Vincent as their home, where they should earn a living and spend the rest of their days. Why is that? Why is that? Why would the French, right, after they accepted the ascendancy of the Black Caribs, right, why would they consider St. Vincent as their home? Why? They were mixed with these people. That's why. It's a fact. These Frenchmen, they were Negroes too, right? But a lot of them, though, just wanted to take over the land, right? And we're going to get more into that, right? They were not interested in large sugar plantations, but preferred to practice diverse agriculture, growing indigo, cotton, tobacco, and a little sugar in small holdings. These holdings extended deep into the interior, and even today, one can see the remains of a very small sugar factories used by the French in such remote places as Emies, Regard, and Nugent. Right, we're going to skip this part. It was the custom of the French settlers who came to St. Vincent to bring their slaves with them. This posed as a problem for the Black Caribs, since it was virtually impossible to distinguish between many of them and the slaves, particularly between the children. The Black Caribs sought to deal with this issue by ostensibly adopting more and more of the habits of the yellow Caribs. The more significant of these was the practice of flattening the skulls of their babies or small children by compressing their heads between two pieces of board, which they tightened progressively at both ends. Now, they didn't adopt this practice. This practice been embedded in them, right? They've been doing it, but this is their way to help separate their children from being enslaved. Because if they look like the slave babies, then that sacrifices them having a chance of being claimed as a slave baby. So this is things that they did differentiate, right? but they've been practicing in this stuff. This is ancestral for them. So they didn't take it from the yellow Caribs. Nah, all Caribs did this together. They all did this together. This was something that they all did. And this is in the history books. Yellow Caribs, generals, even Tainos, and many other tribes. They practiced in this, right? Right. Their name was given to the Caribbean Sea. And it's the English word of cannibal. I said that early in the video, my brother, too. That's a fact. Thank you for that drop. Caribbean Sea basically means the cannibal sea. That's what it's called, the cannibal sea. Labat, in discussing the effect of this habit, on the yellow Caribs, noted that their foreheads were flat and sloped backwards so much that it appeared that they could look at the sky without raising their heads. They buried their dead too, like the yellow Caribs, in a round hole about 4 feet in diameter and 6 feet in depth. The body was propped up in the same position the Caribs used when squatting around a fire, the elbows resting on the knees and the palms supporting the cheeks. These burials usually took place under the floor of the huts in which relatives normally lived. That's because they were Caribs. Hello. Long before the arrival of the French, the black Caribs had adopted and or inherited the yellow Caribs' extensive use of the cassava root in their diet. They used it as a type of bread, as a beverage, and for meat preservation and seasoning. Of course, the yellow Caribs had a habit of killing their male enemies in war and carrying off the females as additional wives. It was too good of a practice for the black Caribs not to adopt. They all did the same thing. It's not adopting it. This is just all something that they did culturally before they were separated into yellow and black Caribs. I don't know if y'all been following, but once we started reading this article, they weren't calling them yellow or black. They were calling them Caribs, as they were all one. And as the story continued, once they involved the French, this is where the division came about. This is when you start to see these people divided. So these are practices that they've been doing, but they're singling it out now because they're doing it based off color. The yellow do it, the black do it too, right? Basically, like calling them followers, when in reality, they all the same shit, right? They all doing the same thing. There were more direct ways in which the French settlers affected the black Caribs. Since the French had no legal right to be here and could hardly defend themselves against the black Caribs, they made every effort to try to be on good terms with them. Sir Williams goes as far as to say, the French, helped to conciliate them, the black Caribs, by occasional hospitalities at Martinique, and they gave them presents and supplied them with arms. They sent missionaries amongst them to dazzle them with ceremonies and entertain them with festivals, and they availed themselves of the enthusiastic temper of wild and free people to promote a communion of passions under covert religion. As we shall see later, the black Caribs definitely acquired the French taste for wine instead of rum, and became quite proficient in the French language and French manner, right? Probably why a lot of people down there now speak the French language, right? Definitely a lot, especially in Haiti. One forever hears of them coming to fair ben lure compliments, even when they are up to mischief. Coke, who has maligned them so much, admits they were very lavish in entertaining guests and took it amiss if visitors did not partake of their hospitality. Usually, helpings of eggs, cassava bread, and a bowl of punch. The most obvious impact of the French presence on the black Caribs was, of course, the latter's adoption of French names. One finds black Caribs with names like Pierre Gatou, Tassou, Lamont, Guerin, Anselm, Gruyere, Laline, Bruno, Chatoyer, and of course Jean Baptiste. Right? It's often a name found amongst French Negroes, French black men, like the dude who founded Illinois. Right? That's one right there. Dude who founded Illinois. His name is Jean Baptiste, or like Toussaint Louverture, the man who led the Haitian Revolution. Black Caribs with French names. I'm telling y'all, bro. Like, come on, bro. We really walks it down, man. I'm trying to tell. Bro, we really walks it down. We really walks it down. I'm trying to tell y'all, bro. But let's continue. A few of the blacks, right, did like the French, establish small farms where they grew cotton, indigo, and tobacco, which they traded with the French for arms, ammunitions, tools, and ornaments. The place today known as Duval or Windsor Forest was the site of a cotton plantation owned by Duval, the brother and deputy of Chatoyer, paramount chief of all black Caribs. So Chatoyer was the paramount chief of all black Caribs. He was the Chief Tuscaloosa. Chief Tuscaloosa. He was a Gadifuana chief. Look, Google called him a Gadifuana chief. Told y'all the Caribs are the Gadifuana. All right, we're going to do a video on this brother. Definitely got to do a video on this brother. Look, they got him as a black man, y'all. I'm looking at it right now. They got him as a black man. Joseph Chatoyer. They got him as a black man. Definitely, we're gonna make this a part of the series. Hell yeah. Where we at, y'all? Where we at? Let's continue. And I appreciate y'all tuning in, man. Make sure y'all go subscribe to the Morals of Money platform on YouTube, bro. Make sure y'all go subscribe. We going crazy. Let's continue. Yeah. He operated his farm with some 9 slaves. Sir William Young, when he visited St. Vincent in 1791, entertained Chatoyer, Duval, and 6 of their sons. He thought very highly of Duval, referring to him as the most enlightened of his people, who may be termed the founder of civilization among them. One hopes that his civilization was not based on his ownership of slaves. Conceivably, the black Caribs may well have abandoned their purely fishing and hunting way of life to become gourmand farmers, had it not been for circumstances that forced them to become, instead of perennial guerrilla fighters, and despite bid for survival. Told y'all. They hunting ways of life, that hunting way of life was a form of survival, right? That's why they were cannibals. That's why they called them cannibals. And the fact that they were a part of the hit squads, right? They'll go out, body niggas, right? Pirates go out on ship, start bodying niggas, and if they shipwrecked, then they were surviving for human meat. That was just that, right? That's what they did. They were fishermen and hunters, right? But ended up becoming farmers and agriculturalists. So where we at? So we at the Advent of English. How much more? It's just a lot more, right? And I want to continue doing this. How much more time we got, man? We've been live for a minute. We got 2 hours going on right now, man. It's 2 hours. So this is what I'm going to do, right? That's what I'm going to do. Because we got a lot more to cover with this article right here. A lot more to cover. We're going to save this for the next one. Right? We on the Advent of the English. Finish that page 17, right? The Advent of the English. That's where we left off at. And they basically talked about the English involvement in the removal of the Caribs to Central America and their enslavement, right? And basically what these people went through, they tried to fight so hard for their land. Right? But you know how them colonists get down. You know what they like to do. They savages, bro. And colonists, man. Them colonists some damn savages. They'll steal your grandmother's drawers. Right? They'll steal your grandmother's drawers. They'll steal all the food out your refrigerator. Right? They'll steal your crib. Steal your girl. They even steal your children. Right? That's how dirty they are. Nah, but man, this is why history is important, bro. This is why we got to continue to read and continue to get more information regarding these situations, man, these stories. And yeah, bro, stop listening to them fake truths. Nah, for real though, bro. Stop listening to that bullshit that they're putting out there, bro. Stop reading it, or do research so that maybe you could teach your kids something new, right? You can teach them something different, right? I'm trying to find something right now for y'all too, because I know the perfect way to end this off, right? I know the perfect way to end this one off. I want to show y'all something. Right? Where we at? All right, this is the book right here. Right, so this next one I'm gonna have for y'all too as we continue down this rabbit hole or throughout this series. This right here, right? New evidence on the origins of the Black Caribs. Because we got to talk about it. And we're going to look up Joseph Chateauria too. Chateauria, the paramount chief of the Caribs. And what does it say, right? New evidence. What does it say? It says, right, the Black Caribs are a hybrid group living today in Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua, as well as in her urban centers in the United States and England. Phenotypically Negroid, they speak an Amerindian language, Island Carib, which is actually Arawakan. Right? Their ethnogenesis took place largely on the island of St. Vincent and the Lesser Antilles over centuries, right? Why doesn't their ethnogenesis take them back to Africa if they are Black Africans, right? Their ethnogenesis takes them to St. Vincent, and they're phenotypically Negroid that speak an Amerindian language, which is Arawakan, right? These are the God-of-Fauna peoples, though, like I said, but why would they give them that classification, right? That's why I said we're gonna go into all of this stuff. It's a lot of research. It's a lot of research to go into, and I have a lot. So just bear with your boy, man. Subscribe to the YouTube channels, Copper Color King, Morals and Money platform for creators, man. We going crazy, bro. Got more fire like this. This whole series, this Carib series right here, finna be dope, bro. So I need y'all to stick around, subscribe, do whatever it is that you need to do, man. Because we're gonna go crazy after this one. We talking more about the mound builders. We're gonna talk about the Creeks, Seminoles, Gualays, Gullah Geechees, man, the Moors, Murs, even the Tartars, right? A lot. It's breaking the black barrier, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, like I said, man. Good looking out, bro. I appreciate you. You show mad love. Man. Keep tuning in, bro. Keep tuning in. I appreciate you. Keep tuning in. We're gonna go crazy. Like I said, I'm fairly new to this. I got a whole bunch of videos on the Morals and Money platform. I got a whole Breaking the Black Barrier playlist with about 30 something videos on it. So the live streaming stuff, I'm fairly new to it. I'm not gonna lie. So for those who are tuned in, I appreciate y'all because it's only gonna get better as we continue. I'm only gonna get better over time. The information is gonna get better. The delivery is gonna get better. Everything is going to get better. So I need y'all to subscribe, man. Follow on platforms. Or follow on all platforms, man. Like I said, man, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. See y'all later, man. Have a good night. Happy Sabbath. Do it.
We breaking that black barrier every single day, every weekend, 24/7. It does not matter.
Tell them what breaking the black barrier mean, man. What they look like?
What is black, man?
What is black?
Copper Color Productions, man. The Copper Color King Cash, Morals and Money, man. Let's get it.
Black King, stand up. But understand what black is. It's the essence. It's the culture. We've been on this earth, you heard? The Bronx was called Fort Apache. The Bronx was called Fort Apache, man. Oh, last breed, bro. We bringing it back, last breed.
Really forever flying in this bitch, man. For the ancestors, baby.